This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
You know, you've always told us that Roth conversions are a smart way to control future taxes. And thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill, those low tax rates we've enjoyed since 2017, they're going to continue. But an article I read said that this strategy is no longer a slam dunk. So, Mark, can you explain what they're talking about here? And is there another reason why Roth conversions are not a DIY project?
Well, I don't know that they've ever been a do-it-yourself kind of project. For many people, the concept is not rocket science. It's just how to do it in a strategic manner so that we don't hurt ourselves in terms of the taxes. Because the whole concept of converting from a traditional tax-deferred IRA into a tax-free Roth IRA is voluntarily choosing to pay a tax now that the government's really not inclined to force on us until as late as age 73. So to the degree we're willing to pay taxes now on our own terms, on our own timeline, we can do so in a historically low tax environment and, in my opinion, liberate monies that otherwise are going to be just destroyed in the future as tax rates increase. We always quiz the people who attend our public seminars and ask, do you think tax rates are going to go up or down in the future? Pretty much everyone. I mean, I shouldn't say pretty much. It's always just unanimity. Everyone's unanimously in agreement that tax rates are going to have to go up because of the underfunding of all these entitlement programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And so, yes, Roth conversion strategies are a key part of what I teach and what we do here in our office. And yes, the circumstances under which people convert, or more specifically, how much they convert and when they convert, has changed in light of this One Big Beautiful Bill that was recently passed. The standard deduction, in some cases for people over 65, with these new bonus deductions, has gone up to $46,000, which means we don't always have to convert as much as we used to. We can be strategic. The key lesson or takeaway for people listening is that not all sources of income are taxed the same. And knowing that, we can then there is actually a mathematical ideal to have between different kinds of income. Now, the precise amounts are different for each person, of course, but there is an ideal, a balance that can be reached. And that's one of the big takeaways people get from this class they come to with us. But, simplify it. My office does tax analyses for our clients, and they can then take that report to their CPA, who typically rubber stamps it and says, yep, the numbers are right, and we show them a strategic way to incrementally, usually over a period of years, liberate their money from a tax-deferred to a tax-free status. It's not only for their benefit, but it's for the benefit of their children, the people who will inherit the money. A lot of CPAs will tell people, don't do that, don't pay taxes earlier than you have to. And they're talking about some crazy crossover point. You've got to live a certain number of years. They're not thinking about the family. And in my experience, most of us love our families, and we want to be able to leave money to them. Odds are we're not going to spend all of our money because we're cautious, and therefore the question becomes, do you want to leave money to your children and grandchildren on a taxable basis or on a tax-free basis? So all of this is part of the service that we're teaching in these classes and that we do for clients. And if this is a new idea to people or perhaps confusing or strange, I'd say just come visit with us. We can simplify this. I'll put it up on the whiteboard and we show people exactly how this is done. And then if they want to engage with us, we'll take it the next step and we'll do these tax analysis reports for them so they get a very, very customized roadmap on how this can be done as painlessly as possible. There are primary taxes and secondary taxes that probably go beyond this conversation, but we can help people kind of navigate, weave through those different, hazards, as it were, in the roadway so that they can get as safely as possible to their ideal destination, that promised land of a tax-free retirement. It's out there, and you can get there.
Absolutely, you can get there. And that customized roadmap to retirement also being that tax efficient, right? You've heard that saying, zero is your hero. Is it possible to be in that 0% tax bracket? Well, you can only find out one way. You got to give Mark a call, and then you got to sit down for this tax analysis. We'll do a complimentary for you listening today. Give a call, 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. That website, again, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com.
If tax rates double, 2 times 0 is still 0, right?
That's right.
And so that's why we're trying to get people to a tax-free position, because some of us, myself very much included, are absolutely convinced that tax rates are going to have to go up dramatically, and in fact double for many of us. And so, again, 2 times 0, if we get you to a 0% tax bracket and then they increase rates, so they double them, 2 times 0 is still 0. That's why we want to get you there. So.
Exactly. And something to think about, and just kind of keep it on the surface here. This isn't a political show, but something just to keep in mind is that these low taxes that we're staying in right now, again, they're going to continue during this term of the current president, but will they continue after? I don't know. No one has a crystal ball. How is it going to go? Well, this is, again, why you need that tax plan in place. This tax analysis is a great opportunity for you to decide and figure out what are the best options for me, going from traditional to a Roth. Those type of conversations you will have with Mark. Again, that website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. We've talked about this before, I believe, the whole 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds. But have you heard about this 50-30-20 portfolio? Here's Morningstar Amy Arnett, and she tells us more.
The idea is 50% stocks, 30% bonds, potentially 20% in alternatives, including private equity and private capital. Obviously, if a firm is offering exposure to alternative assets or private capital, they have a vested interest in promoting those asset classes. So they're going to be able to make more money if people do go ahead with that 20% allocation. And another thing to keep in mind is that the expenses are much higher on those alternative asset classes. You are definitely paying higher fees.
Okay, and Amy, I think someone needs to get her some coffee. What do you think, Mark? She sounds
well. I definitely have those mornings
excited
too.
to talk about that. Yeah. Well, listen, we want to make it more exciting talking about your portfolio, designing it there, and private equity. I mean, that's been a hot topic as of late, especially since it might be finding its way into your 401k soon. So I want you to talk about that, and of course, is this something that someone should consider in a retirement portfolio, Mark?
Well, look, I'm a libertarian at heart, so my belief is the more choices we have in life, the better. But that doesn't mean that every choice is right for every one of us. And that's where I personally get a little bit scared about this idea of them introducing it into the 401ks. I like the concept, but there are a few things that scare me about it. I mean, number one is most people in 401k plans are simply chasing returns. They think the entire game is all about getting the highest rate of return, and they don't really understand the risk that comes with some of these investments. And if those market losses occur right before someone retires, that can have catastrophic implications. It's not as big a deal to a 20-year-old who has 30 years to recover as it is to someone who is in their early 60s who's been chasing returns and never really changed their portfolio, and then they take a big loss before they should have retired, and now they can't retire. Because the one thing we don't have as we approach retirement and as we enter retirement, the one thing we don't have anymore is time to recover. And so the timing of losses is a really big deal. So that's my biggest concern with adding these alternative investments into 401ks. It's just the natural tendency, particularly among men, to chase the sexiest possible returns. She was correct. She mentioned that the fees can be higher, and that definitely is a concern. So I would just say, just remember that your 401k money is not your gambling money. I live in Vegas. I don't have a problem with people gambling. If they want to do that with their play money, go do it. Power to you. I don't personally, never have, never will, but we just have to be very clear in our minds as to what we're doing when we talk about retirement money. And I think retirement money is sacred. Everyone in my office uses this language, and it's not to make people uncomfortable, but it's just we believe that retirement money is sacred because for most people, once they retire, they can't go back and recover losses. And so we just can't have the losses during the retirement years that we could have put up with in our 20s. And so, yes, I love the idea of adding new opportunities for people. Some people will be sophisticated to understand the risk. Most people won't. And so I get a little bit nervous about the fees and the kind of the gambling mentality. But hey, that's where we're headed. So let's just educate ourselves. At the end of the day, it always boils down to education. So if these are strange ideas, people, we just invite you to come visit with us because we can do a portfolio analysis for you and help you better understand where your money is actually at. It's shocking to me how many people think they're doing one thing, and in fact, once we do a portfolio analysis, they're actually behaving in an entirely different manner than what they thought. And so we can actually do an analysis that assigns a risk score, a relative score, so they can actually see what are the probabilities of how much of a loss you might take in any given year versus how much gains you may take in a given year. And we find after we do those analyses for people that they often make changes to better meet their own objectives. So everyone's objective's different, but the reality is most people, what they think they're doing and what they're actually doing are two different things. So come visit with us. We'll do that analysis for you and help you better understand.
And again, this is that portfolio analysis. You're also going to be kind of dialed into your risk score. How much risk are you taking? Do you need to pull back? And it also is going to answer that question, what is the probability that I'm going to have a confident retirement? Again, that is a portfolio analysis complimentary to our radio listeners today. We always save appointments just for you, 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. That website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. As of last month, the Wall Street Journal says that U.S. investors held a record $7.7 trillion in money market funds thanks to higher interest rates. But investment manager Michael Kantrowitz tells Fox Business that many might have to start making decisions about their money soon.
Cash is, of course, an alternative now with where interest rates are. They're well off of zero. So it is appropriate that for many different reasons, people hold liquid cash investments, not only for near-term use, but also to gain some income. And that yield is well above many stocks that pay dividends in the S&P 500 or below. But if interest rates do continue to come down, then that money will probably be put somewhere else.
All right, these interest rates, man, they're like haunting us. Is this something that we need to look at and find a better place for that cash? Because I know we don't want to put it under the mattress and just let it sit there.
Oh, no, we want our money working for us, absolutely. I mean, better it working than us working. So, yeah, absolutely. People need to have cash within their portfolio so they can deal with life's emergencies. We typically don't recommend more than 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, although some people might have upwards of 12 months worth of living expenses. Beyond that, I think it's counterproductive to leave too much money in cash personally, and so we will look at more moderate portfolios in the market in some cases, or in other cases, what many people are doing are either CDs at the bank or preferably CD alternatives through insurance companies. There's actually a little-known product that insurance companies offer, and very few agents talk about it because the commissions are so incredibly small. But there's a product we do a lot of business with for clients who want to get better rates of return. It's called a multi-year guaranteed annuity, for example. That's just one option. But what's wonderful about them is, for example, in the CD world right now, you might get 4% doing a 6 or a 12-month CD. Sometimes you can lock a rate in upwards of 18 months or so. But with these multi-year guaranteed annuities, for example, we can lock a rate in for periods of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, anywhere up to 10 years. I mean, just this last week, we did a number of these for clients where they were simply taking money out of, kind of lazy money out of bank accounts and locking rates in. We like 5-year plans right now are at like 5.7%. And so it's much better than the bank, much more generous. And the fact that it's in an annuity means that you're getting tax deferral on those interest earnings, which means there's less likelihood of your Social Security being taxed because we're, again, deferring the recognition of those earnings. You're also getting asset protection in most states and certainly privacy and probate benefits. So there's a number of benefits to these alternatives. So, yes, absolutely, we should have cash available for emergencies. But Mark Cordner would typically say probably not more than 6 to 12 months in the kind of instruments he's talking about. There are other ways to be more efficient while still having liquidity. We've got to have liquidity in a portion of our portfolio, but we also have to have safety. And there are alternative kinds of investments, to use that word loosely, that you can get from places like insurance companies that people wouldn't expect, they've never heard about. And if that's a new idea to people, come talk to us because it's very popular with many of our clients. We can totally protect them from market losses and give them better rates than what the banks are going to give them.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts' principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.